AEW Dynamite starts off with a six-man tag match between Bro Dito, Kenny Omega versus the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander. This was a good match. You end up getting the babyface picking up the victory with Kenny Omega getting the pinfall. But after the match, though, you end up getting some conflict. You end up getting Josh Alexander, if I'm not mistaken, ends up attacking Kenny Omega, if I'm not mistaken. Then you end up getting the Young Bucks ended up confronting Josh Alexander, wanting him to stop, and the Young Bucks are not helping Josh Alexander. Then afterwards, you end up getting Jurassic Express. They come out, and you get Jack Perry ended up attacking Josh Alexander and the Young Bucks, taking them both out. Kenny Omega ends up getting back up. He confronts the Young Bucks, and no, not the Young Bucks. He ends up confronting Jurassic Express. He confronts Jack Perry due to the long history that they have, due to, the past, of course, which I did like. Because I'm like, if they just have Kenny Omega just pretend like nothing ever happened between him and Jack Perry, that would have been ridiculous. Kenny Omega ends up cutting a promo. Then after the promo ends, you end up getting a random person comes out after the lights cut off, cuts back on, and then it ends up being Andrade. That is the person that attacks Kenny, and he continues to attack Kenny Omega. Okay, I just find this kind of funny and hilarious that Andrade is back in AEW, especially because the first time around it did not work out. But to be fair, he gave WWE a second chance, so maybe he's just a guy who just gives second chances. But I just don't see this going anywhere. And he is in the Don Callis family, which is very unfortunate because we all know what happens to people who are in the Don Callis family if you're not Kyle Fletcher or Konosuke Takeshita. So I would say this is interesting, but we all know how this is going to play out. I don't know why Andrade was signed back to AEW because I don't see it being better than his first run because this is just going to be, especially because he's with the Don Callis family. Anytime they don't have real plans for you, they just put you in the Don Callis family. This is just going to go exactly how I think it's going to go. It's just going to go Kenny Omega wins this feud, then Andrade is going to disappear, most likely. Or if he is going to be on TV regularly, he's just going to be on Collision for the most part, being a backup dancer to the Don Callis family for the most part. Now, Jurassic Express, I like that they're back together. Now, the only thing I will say is they do need an explanation for attacking the Young Bucks because before Jack Perry disappeared, there wasn't no dissension between the Young Bucks and Jack Perry yet. So I hope they at least explain that part and at least can we get an explanation for why he would attack the Young Bucks and why Luchasaurus even helps Jack Perry to a degree. Hope we get an explanation, but we probably wouldn't. I will say this. At least they're trying, even though I don't think it makes much sense, to be honest with you. But at least they're at least giving effort and they're at least trying to tell a story here. So I will give AEW that because at least they're trying. Because typically they don't try at all. So at least they're at least trying. We'll see how this plays out. Also, it does look like they was also teasing a potential babyface turn with the Young Bucks because they was conflicted on attacking Kenny Omega and like because when Kenny Omega confronted them, they had like a sad look on their face, and they was speaking about how on commentary they was speaking about how they can make amends and get back together and not break the hat break the hatchet stop the feuding or whatever. And then when Josh Alexander was attacking Kenny, they didn't help Josh Alexander, but they didn't break it either. So it looks like they're teasing a potential babyface turn. So I'm anxious to see where this goes. Afterwards, we're going to be in Kyle Fletcher versus Orange Cassidy for the TNT Championship. Really good match. This is what Kyle Fletcher needs. Some momentum, some guys that he could actually beat to have credibility while putting on great matches. Now, towards the end of the match, you get Don Callis. He comes out, tries to interfere. But then you get Hologram comes, interferes, stop Don Callis from interfering. And then you get Hologram interferes and ends up preventing Orange Cassidy the victory. Kyle Fletcher retains. Then after the match, it ends up being revealed that that is the clone hologram of all people that interfered in the match instead of the actual hologram. So they added Andrade and they added a fake clone hologram. Now I know they've been telling the story of the fake clone hologram for a minute now, so it looks like he's a part of the Don Callis family. I guess I don't know what you want me to do with this. It's like I don't care. Like hologram gets no reaction. No one cares about a hologram, and I'm not going to care about a fake hologram either. So I really just don't care, to be honest. It's really whatever to me. It was a good match. I don't really think this really adds to Kyle Fletcher. I really don't understand why we really need to add to this story, but it is what it is. I guess they wanted to make Hologram, this fake Hologram, a more interesting character by putting him in a Don Callis family who already have half of the AEW roster in the entire faction, but it is what it is. We'll see where the storyline goes. Now we get the Death Riders. We end up getting the Death Riders with Claudio, John Moxley, Daniel Garcia, who I constantly forget is a part of this faction now, versus the Ops and Hangman. Okay, now I was gonna crash out a bit because I thought we was going to the Hangman and Death Riders Vortex, but the baby faces win. But then after the match though, you end up getting a moment where Hangman, they're celebrating. He gives the Ops their titles back, their trios championships. But when he gives Samoa Joe his championship, he hands it to him, but then he ends up dropping it due to Samoa Joe not, grabbing it first. So it looks like he just like, just like shoved it into his chest and then just shoved it to his chest and that was it. And then Samoa Joe took that as disrespect, and then Samoa Joe confronts Hangman. They start arguing, and then Samoa Joe starts yelling at him and ends up saying that you have never beaten me, but you never defeat me before. So this leads to a whole thing. Hangman is confused. Hangman wants a match at Wrestle Dream for the AEW World Championship. So now we're getting the match. Okay. That has to be the dumbest and weirdest explanation ever for AEW World, for any world title shot. I get what they was trying to do and I get why they're doing it because Hangman has little to no competitors for that world title. So I understand, but that's just dumb. Like really? Like Hangman tries to give you your title and you don't grab it, so you took it a certain way and now you're mad. Why? I get what they're trying to do. I understand it. They're trying, but bro, that has to be the dumbest reason for a world title shot I have ever seen in my life. Like I just don't understand it. Like I said, they don't have competitors for Hangman. So I understand they need to come up with something, but you couldn't come up with anything better. Like you really couldn't come up with any better logic. Like I just don't understand it. So we're getting this at Wrestle Dream. I will be at Wrestle Dream. And the card is looking pretty nice. We already got Darby and Mox, our quick match. We got the Hangman match and Samoa Joe, who are some of my favorites. So the card is looking nice because I was considering selling my ticket or getting a refund because I was like, if the Wrestle Dream is a terrible card, I ain't going. But it looks like a good card, so I'm definitely going now. But I get what they're trying to do. They don't have competitors for Hangman, but bro, that is the dumbest explanation I've ever seen. But the match should be a banger. So I'm just going to let it slide, but the explanation is stupid. But the match should be a banger. Can't wait to see how that match plays out. We end up getting a quick Toni Storm match. I'm not going to go over it. She faces a jobber, basically. Wins the match. After the match, though, we end up getting a quick promo where basically she wants a one-on-one match to prove, to see who is really the best, to see is she really not as good as she thinks she is against Kris Statlander. She needs that one-on-one match to really see who's really the best for that AEW Women's World Championship. Kris Statlander, of course, agrees, and this leads into a segment later on where they end up having a bit of a stare down and they end up having a brawl towards the end of the match, and that's ended up getting confirmed for Wrestle Dream as well. So Wrestle Dream is looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. You have 3 matches that I'm actually excited about, that actually could be bangers and actually with people that I actually care about, which I'm really going to enjoy. I'm interested to see how that match plays out. I am hoping Kris Statlander retains and they do not go with Toni Storm getting the title back because there's nothing for Toni Storm to do with that AEW Women's Championship. There just isn't. So hopefully they keep it on Kris Statlander. Let her have a run. Let her do stuff with that title. It's more of a story to tell with Kris Statlander. So I'm hoping that is the direction we go. Do not put the Toni back on Toni Storm. I like Toni Storm, but have her do something like Rhea Ripley. Have her do stuff without the title. Have her have feuds. Have her go down a different path with the character, losing her mind without having the championship. Do something. Do not have her win that title back. So interested to see how that match plays out. A quick segment that I forgot to mention was Mercedes Moné. She was getting interviewed by Renee, and she was getting interviewed about the women's tag team titles, and of course, Mercedes' history with becoming was of of course, winning the women's tag titles back in WWE. And then you end up getting Harley Cameron interrupts the interview, ends up basically alluding to they should tag team, and Mercedes, of course, is refusing. So it looks like we're going to get Mercedes in the tag team division, which I'm not going to really be mad at because if you want to build prestige, putting it on Mercedes wouldn't be a bad choice. It's just whatever to me because this is the same issues that WWE has where they don't have the depth for a women's tag division and they don't have real tag teams. So they're going to run into the same problem. Also, Harley Cameron, I like her, but bro, she gets passed around so much and AEW is ridiculous. She was first teaming with Anna Jay, that seemed to die. She was teaming with Kris Statlander, now that died as well. Now we're going to Mercedes. Like, how many times are we going to keep passing this chick around? Like, I'm not even trying to be mean, but bro, she is getting passed around over and over again. It's getting ridiculous. So we'll see where this goes. Now, I'm hoping that this keeps Mercedes away from the world title scene because I do not want her in that world title scene at all. Let's just keep her away because if Mercedes gets back in the world title scene, I feel like she's winning. That's why we don't need, especially if she, look, I know eventually she's going to win the AEW World Championship, but if she's going to win it, let her win it against someone other than Chris Statlander. Like, let's keep her away from Chris for a bit because I do not want to see that, but I know eventually it's going to happen. So we'll see if this partnership between Harley and Mercedes become a thing, and I'm hoping that this is not their way of trying to make Mercedes the babyface, because I feel like that's also what they're trying to do, where they're trying to get Harley to get some of that rub on Mercedes to make her more likable, kind of like what they did with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. So we'll see how this plays out. Now we get the main event: Chris Statlander, Darby Allin versus Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta. The babyfaces picked up the victory. After the match, you end up getting a stare down between Chris Statlander and Tony Storm. They end up having a brawl, and then you get Jon Moxley and the Death Runners attack Darby Allin. Overall, this show was okay. Now, a lot of things did not make sense. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of stories don't make sense, but they're trying. I will give AEW this. One of my main things I hate about AEW currently with their booking is that they do a lack of effort. Tonight's show, it didn't make sense, but they gave effort. That is something I could give praise for. It didn't make sense, but they gave effort. So it was an okay show. They at least try with the stories. That's all I'm really asking for at this point with AEW. So I actually enjoyed the show. It was a okay show. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. I did enjoy it. It was okay. The wrestling was deep. The wrestling was good. The stories did make sense, but they gave effort. That's all I'm asking for. But you guys let me know your overall thoughts, opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.